It looks like we're live. Welcome back to the Breaker Bros, and we're going to do somewhat of an instant reaction to the Bengals 2023 schedule. But I guess my initial reaction to it, I'm not sure how much time that you got to look it over or whatnot, but it seems pretty balanced to me.
I did not look it over. So
yeah, it really, there's not too much to get into other than like, I just feel like it's balanced. There's not like a period where I think I saw something where like we don't have two or more than two games either at home or away in a row. And then I did notice, I think in the last 8 games we have I want to say half of them are divisional games. So it seems like the second half of the season is probably going to matter a little bit more than the first half, which seems like it typically happens that way. But and then I guess the other thing was that we had 4 primetime games, and then none of those primetime games included the ones against the Chiefs, which seems kind of weird. But
well, how many games do we have against the Chiefs? Just the one?
well, yeah, unless somehow we play them in the playoffs again. Which, you know, it's a pretty good possibility. I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be in the AFC Championship again, but I think it seemed like people were pretty disappointed about going against the Browns in Week 1. I guess. Yeah. I don't know
what people are disappointed about that. I guess
they feel like the Browns are a lame duck. I don't know. I'm not sure how you really feel about it,
but I don't know. I mean, I think the Browns have the pieces to be dangerous. I mean, Week 1, who knows how good they're going to be? Who knows how good the Bengals are going to be Week 1? You know, I mean, last year Week 1 was kind of, you know, I think I was in full on panic mode after Week 1 last year. So, I mean, you know, weird stuff happens Week 1. The Browns are dangerous, so
yeah.
But I mean, you know, who else are you gonna play? I mean, could we play the Panthers?
No, I don't even think we play the Panthers at all. No, we don't.
Yeah, that's who I want to play Week 1.
But no, I think it's a good test. I think it's going to be very similar to Week 1 of last year against the Steelers, where it's going to feel kind of ugly, just because it's just the new NFL, and there's no reason for us to play the starters, kind of like what we did last year in the preseason. I mean, if anything, maybe the offensive line you might want to push a little bit more, just so you have a little bit more like security and comfort.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that I'm not contradicting you. Like, I think, yeah, I mean, I think the Bengals not playing their starters is kind of like, I want to call him Zach Morris.
Who?
No, mine's Clarence.
Zach, you know, what's his face?
No, mine's Clarence.
Taylor?
Zach Taylor, yeah. I think it's a Zach Taylor thing.
It's a new age thing. He is the new wave.
Yeah, I know that, like, it's not, he didn't create it. I'm just saying, like, I think it's something he likes, is not playing the starters. And I think that's the thing. The one thing, though, is, remember last season, Burrow was coming off of, like, the appendicitis. Yeah. So he didn't really play much in the preseason. So I don't even think he was practicing, right? So I expect them to be a little bit sharper than they were last season, Week 1.
Yeah, but it's just, you can never really simulate live action unless you play in actual games, and you can kind of get that with the preseason, even though it's a little bit more vanilla. I'm just saying, like, I don't expect it to be as ugly as what it was like last year, but I do expect it to be ugly just because just the nature of the beast of, there's only 3 preseason games now, and there's like, I mean, maybe they'll try to get a series like in the 3rd preseason game with all the starters, just to get some type of rhythm.
Yeah, see, I don't get that. You know what I mean? If you're not going to play, then don't play.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm with it. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, I think that's what we kind of have to expect, is like early in the season, like there's going to be a little bit of a rust. But I think, unlike last year, since we went through that last year, we'll be more prepared and we'll have all the answers, unless the NFL comes up with like a completely different type of defense that we're not ready for. But I don't think the NFL's there yet because they have to create a different type of hybrid player that hasn't technically been found yet. I don't think, but I mean we'll see.
So the NFL's creating players.
No, I mean
somewhere.
no, I mean just look at the evolution of any type of player. I mean look how fast and freakish defensive ends gotten, or like remember in the NFL where you had to have 3 linebackers. Like remember that? Like now it's different.
Oh yeah, they used to run it a lot more, but
yeah, I'm just saying like.
I mean, defensive ends have always been pretty freakish, right?
No, it's different now. It's
Like,
a
what
lot
about,
different.
like Bruce Smith.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're just bigger and faster. I mean, they've always been what they are, but it's just to the extreme.
Like Javon Curse.
Yeah, it's like he was like once in a generational type of player, but you see more of those type of players more often now. I mean, you can look at other positions, but I mean, a defensive end, a cornerback, a receiver, and a quarterback, those are the premium positions, and that's why you see like higher caliber athletes coming out of college in those positions every year. I mean, think about it. So there's always like great class of corners or defensive ends, or I mean, sometimes defensive tackles, corners or DBs, and then receivers, and then quarterbacks. Of course, it's like it's a rotation of those 4 positions. I feel like because those are all the premium positions.
Yeah.
Those are the highest paid, I believe, right? Corner, well, quarterback, of course, and then it's like receiver, corner, and then defensive end.
Okay, you lost me a little bit though.
What do you mean?
So we're talking about freakish athletes, but
yeah, I'm just saying, the freakish athletes will go where the money is, right? So like, the top paid athletes are defensive ends. Of like the top 5 positions, right? Like defensive ends.
So you're saying defensive end is the most athletic position?
No, it's just one of the premium positions. Like a defensive end is going to be what? The defensive end and corner on the defensive side of the ball are the top 2 paid, right? Like what other position we get paid more than them?
No, I think you're right. Defensive ends and corners get paid.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why you see those athletes, those really freakish
I mean,
athletes.
I guess you could say defensive tackle, probably, right? Isn't Aaron Donald like the highest paid player?
Yeah, but I think that's an anomaly, right? He's like an outlier. I think just because he's just
freakish athletes, right?
Yeah, no, I mean you're right, but there's way more like when we get into it, like Miles Murphy, right? Those type of people, like when we get into the Bengals draft or whatever. But I don't know. I guess winding it all back, it just I think it's not the exciting matchup everyone was hoping for, because I know there's a lot of people wanting to go against the Chiefs.
Yeah. So like people are just disappointed that the Bengals aren't going to be like showcased, right?
Yeah, I think
Battle for Ohio.
There's a few people out there feel slighted because we only got 4 primetime games, and some people consider the Sunday, the game against the Chiefs at 4:30 basically.
Isn't there like a max on the number of primetime games you
Technically,
can have?
you can only have 6. 6 is the max.
Right.
There's 4 teams that already have the max.
Are there? How early are there primetime games? Is there any risk that any of those get kicked, flexed out?
Yeah, the Sunday night games are the ones that are always potential to be flexed out. Now, there's certain games in each week. Like, for instance, the week 17, I found out that's a lock. Like I thought that could potentially be flexed to Sunday night.
It's a lock to not be Sunday night?
They CBS, I think, they're the ones that are broadcasting it. Yeah, they protected that game. I mean, but some people consider that slot anyways a primetime game because it's like I think they might be the only ones playing at that time because it's the game that leads into Sunday night.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe it might be a Bengals preference too, because I think like having those later primetime games are like I guess those are harder to recover from.
Are there any other games that might get flexed in? Because it's usually towards the end of the year, right? Like the second half of the season.
I'm gonna say it's like between weeks 8 and 17 are the ones that can be flexed. It's around that range. I don't know. The rules and the way they do the schedule has changed so many times. Like now they officially have the Friday game. The Black Friday
Yeah,
game.
what's the deal? There's a Black Friday game. Who's got that one?
I want to say it was like the Jets.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Honestly, I can't remember. I was kind of hoping it would be the Bengals, but yeah.
Oh, man, I gotta be at Walmart get my TV.
But then,
I mean, Black Friday, they changed that, right? Like it used to be, like you had to get up at 5 a.m. on Black Friday, and then like all the stores started opening up on Thanksgiving. But I think like last year or the past few years, they kind of rolled that back now, right? And now Black Friday's Black Friday again. Like if you want to go shopping,
honestly,
you can't really go Thanksgiving.
I have no clue.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I mean, I guess you could watch the game like on your phone while you're shopping, right?
I guess.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Black Friday's kind of lost its luster. I guess because I'm getting old, right? I already have a TV. You
Well,
know,
that
you already have
I would rather go to a football game than shopping.
You have your what's the Instapot? You already have your Instapot. I mean, we're set. We don't need any Black Friday stuff anymore.
It's like an air fryer. So
Air
week
fryer?
2, Baltimore Ravens.
I don't have an air fryer.
Another divisional game. It looks like we're opening the first 2 weeks with divisional games.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's our home opener, which is just week 2, which is nice. And I want to say the following week is the Monday night game. Yeah, against the Rams. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things where if we start 2-0 and then we have then basically we're in the driver's seat. I feel like at that point I would have to double check all the other schedules in terms of like the other teams in the division, but I'm not sure if all the other teams have the first 2 games as far as divisional opponents. Maybe like one other team, but I'm just saying if we start 2-0 like that, then that's like a really strong start.
Yeah, I like 2-0.
And I think it's one of those games where it's going to really set the tone to where, like, I think most people consider Baltimore and Bengals like the top 2 teams or the top 2 contenders. I guess
for the North.
For the foreseeable future. I mean, maybe the Browns. If you look at them on paper, like they always seem like they have a good team, but they just never seem to do anything with it. But
Yeah.
I think this is just like one of those tone setter games, and it's good that we get them home early, because maybe the one later. Well, it looks like the second game is mid-year, so it's still going to be pretty important. And actually, the second game against Baltimore is on Thursday, so that should be pretty interesting. It'll be at their home. So,
I always think like the Thursday away team, that's a huge disadvantage.
yeah. But I guess the good thing is, and I saw that the Bengals were one of the teams that traveled the least this year. And I don't feel like Baltimore is terribly far away, and it's a divisional opponent. So it's like if you are going to play anyone on Thursday, it's better to be like a divisional team, because you pretty much their plays for the most part. And that's kind of like one of the things I can't wait to talk about when we kind of recap the draft, is that like we really added to our depth. So like I'm excited about some of these matchups, because there's gonna be things that we can do, and I'm sure they could say the same thing because they also drafted players. But I feel like we're gonna be able to disguise certain things a lot better, and I think we're gonna catch a lot of teams off guard, especially this year with some of our rookies. But no, I think week 2 is gonna be great, because again, the 2 premier teams in the division, and I think it'd be great if we just go in there, or when they come into our house, if we just set the tone and dominate, or have control the whole time and start 2-0. I think that would be really important.
Okay. Yeah, I'm liking it. What's week 3? So we're 2-0. What's gonna happen week 3? Oh wait, we've already talked about week 3. So you think we're gonna be 3-0 then?
Well, I don't know if we're doing like a record right now, but I'm just saying, just like perspective wise.
Okay.
I think we kind of wait until like
we usually wait until after the preseason.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, just speculate. This is kind of fun to speculate. But yeah, no, it's funny because, okay, so week 3, and I keep forgetting this, that's the Super Bowl rematch, right? The Rams, it's Monday night. I think that's why they're showcasing it. But the reason why I don't think of it as the Super Bowl rematch, mainly because I kind of blocked it out because we lost, and it was like it literally took me like a year to like rewatch the highlights from when we lost or whatever.
Mhm.
But remember the following year, or I guess technically last year in
year?
the off season, yeah, we
Yeah.
we had a practice with him, and that we had that crazy thing with Aaron Donald. Remember that?
There's some
Where
kind of fight where he's swinging a
yeah, where
helmet
you
or
had
something?
two Bengals helmets in his hand, and he was like swinging like crazy, like.
Yeah.
That was such a crazy, and then like they're like no big deal, like it's, just people get mad.
Well, he didn't hit. He didn't connect, right?
No, he did.
Oh, who'd he hit with it?
He hit someone else in the helmet. Like I want to say like Pat McAfee had a close up where like you can see.
Yeah, no, I
Where
wonder who he hit though, because
you
then
can't. It was an offensive lineman,
we
but
have the perspective of the season to know whether or not that made an
that's like
impact.
the image that I think of is like, oh my god, they just demolished that guy.
Mhm.
Because you just see like because it's plastic, it's that hard plastic. You see where it's just denting against the other helmet. Because I mean, it's Aaron
Mhm.
Donald. Like he's just swinging with full force.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
luckily the guy was
doesn't
wearing
sound
his
like
helmet.
fun.
That. I guess that's why it was so crazy to me is that if someone else wasn't wearing a helmet and he connected with someone without a helmet, oh my gosh, like that.
Mhm.
Like that could be fatal. I would imagine, right? Like
I don't know. Didn't Myles Garrett hit
yeah, but not. He wasn't.
the Steelers quarterback in the head with a helmet?
I mean, that's true, but I feel like he was swinging it aggressively, but not like Aaron Donald was. Like, you know what I
Like
mean?
he was just like,
But it was Myles
you
Garrett.
know,
I mean, if you're gonna compare
yeah.
like anyone strength wise,
Right.
that would make sense. But yeah,
Yeah, I would not want Myles Garrett to hit me in the head with a helmet.
yeah,
No.
no. But yeah, I guess
Who would
what's his
you
face?
rather get hit in the head with a helmet with? By Myles Garrett or Aaron
Probably
Donald?
Kenny Pickett. If I had to pick
Okay.
a player, like any
No,
player
of the two, not any player.
of them two,
If it's any play, if it's any player, no.
I
Who
just
would you
assume out
rather
of like
them
the
hit?
AFC North.
No. I meant who of those players? Who would you rather hit you? Not who would you rather them hit?
I mean neither, but I'm assuming Myles Garrett. Like I know they're both freakishly strong, but I'm assuming Aaron Donald is a bit stronger though, for sure. He seems to be like a very. I mean, they're probably both big gym rats, but like he seems to be pretty obsessive with it.
Okay. So what else we got?
Week 4 Titans. I don't feel like there's anything terribly. I mean, I guess it's what the conference game that we beat them. I know we beat them when they were in the number 1 seed. Another playoff rematch from a few years ago, but I don't know. I'm not terribly like it is away, another close away game, but I'm not. It's not one of those teams that strike fear. And to me, I'm sure they're gonna want to make a point because it's like they don't want to go 0-3 against us the last couple of years. So, but I don't think it's a team that we should have trouble against.
Okay.
How do you feel about it?
What about the Titans?
Yeah.
Like what quarterback we gonna play? They
That's
keep
the thing.
changing quarterbacks.
Well,
Or not. They're not changing quarterbacks. They just keep adding quarterbacks, but not changing. Right?
yeah, that's the thing. There seems to be like a transition period for them, right? They don't because obviously Tannehill is not going to be their future, or they would have had
They
obviously
wouldn't have drafted his replacement 2 years in a row.
Yeah, twice. But yeah, nothing. I don't think there's too many storylines behind that one.
Yeah, just feels like a defensive run first team that can't get out of their own way when it comes to picking a quarterback.
I think if anything, if I could see out of the schedule, this might be like the lull, like where we want to build that momentum before we get out of the bye, because that seems to be the toughest part of the schedule is out of the bye. But yeah, because you like LA Titans, and then week 5 Cardinals again. Not a team that seems, and I want to say someone said that the Cardinals, if you go from top to bottom roster wise, is probably the worst. They possibly might have the worst roster. I think someone said.
Fatality.
That was during draft time. I could be misquoting, but that feels
Well, I think Kyler Murray picked their first round pick.
really.
Like he was like, we need to take an offensive tackle, is what I read somewhere, or maybe I dreamt that.
But so here's the deal. Going into week 6, this is the team that probably scares me the most out of the, I guess, weaker teams. Seattle, I guess they're not really considered weak because they made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
where do we play them? We play in Seattle or
no? That's a home game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then I guess this is where it's a little bit different because I think we've like the last 2 or 3 years we seem to have gotten the bye like pretty much like mid-season. It almost been like exactly in the middle, so it seems like we got the bye a little bit earlier. But I'm not sure if that's. I think that can kind of be a good thing because they also say because when you go from a Thursday night to the following week, it's kind of like a mini bye because you get like a week and a half. So like we kind of get like an early bye and then kind of like a mini bye. So that might work out for us in the long run.
Any overseas games?
No, we got looked at with that too. That's another thing. The Chiefs, they have an overseas game. They have like 6 primetime games. I feel like they might fall victim to like, the Super Bowl hangover. And I just feel like their offensive line just got worse. So like,
yeah, we hope so.
Just kind of a side story. I mean, it kind of leads up towards the end of the season, but after the bye, going into week 8 through like. Yeah, I mean, pretty much through week 12. I think to me that's probably going to be the toughest stretch, because you got San Francisco, and then Buffalo is right after that. Week 10, that's the Texans, and then week 11, week 12, we go from that's the Thursday night into the Sunday, which is Baltimore and the Steelers. But San Francisco's at home. No, it's at San Francisco. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
I was thinking that was home, but.
Yeah, last time we played them, I think it was at home.
I'm surprised that maybe this has potential to be flexed into the Sunday night week 8 because I don't know, that might be too early, but this would be a good test because on the other side, I feel like San Francisco is probably a favorite to be, I guess, in it to potentially represent the NFC. Seems like they're always in it, so it would be a good test. And I would like to see how we would perform against a top end team.
Brock Purdy.
Is he going to be the quarterback? I think they said he's going to be ready. So thinking about it,
That'd be cool. The number 1 overall pick versus the last pick.
Not
the same draft, but
actually, I would say week 8 because I don't know. I'm not really afraid of Purdy as far as his arm. I think he's pretty accurate, but I mean. Possibly week 1, if everything goes right with the Browns, they may have a pretty big vertical threat. And then I guess technically
who'd the Browns draft in the first round?
I don't think they had a pick until the 3rd round.
Yeah, I know they didn't have a first round pick.
Yeah, I know. But I was just saying, but they didn't have a pick until the 3rd round, really. So that's like,
what
I'm getting at, because I mean, really. If you look at our team, I think overall we got better. Like,
are we finished with the schedule?
No, we're still running through it. I'm just saying, like,
okay, you're talking draft, it's just all over the place, man.
Well, we just want to hit a little bit of everything. I mean,
okay,
we'll definitely go through the draft in a little bit more detail. But what I'm saying is, like, the weakest part of our roster, I would say, was maybe our safeties, if you want to go that route. And what I'm getting at, just glossing over the schedule, possibly week 8, for sure week 9, we have pretty much the first half of the season to kind of get them ready, right, for those deep attacks. So, like, I said maybe the Browns because Watson and, like... And then, I shouldn't really gloss over the Ravens, but, I just... We'll see, because I feel like the thing for them, and I think this is going to be the next obstacle for Lamar, is that, before he never really had all those options. Now he does. Is he going to be able to handle it? I think that's going to be his next.
I just feel like it's the same team. that he had.
No, I mean they definitely went above and beyond to give him.
Like, how's
Like,
it different than when they had
well, they drafted their
Marquise
first
Brown?
round
No, I'm just saying they had Marquise Brown, and then they had
Watkins.
Sammy Watkins, and now who do they have?
They drafted Zay Flowers.
Okay, and what's he?
Huh?
What's Zay Flowers?
What do you mean?
Well, if you would describe Zay Flowers as a player, would you describe him as
I don't.
like a
He's a first rounder. He's a first round talent.
a younger Boston-based
They
Marquise Brown?
They have another.
It's
They
the
have
same
another.
guy, right?
Well, okay. Well, sure. But they have
Okay.
another first rounder that they drafted a few years ago. They signed OBJ, and then of course they still have
OBJ
Andrews.
is like that's Sammy Watkins, right?
Yeah, no,
A guy who
and
used
they
to
had a
be super
phenomenal draft
fast
of
and
tight ends
good,
last
a
year.
little
So
bit
like,
washed, you know.
he's got more than what he's ever had, right? So this can't be.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying it's like this is exactly what they had.
Okay, I mean that might be a fair point, but I feel like
they also
as
had
much.
like an up and coming first round pick that they paired with those two dudes, right? They had that guy from I can't remember, was it UCF or whatever? But they drafted. They had a
You could
first
be right.
round.
I'm not
tall
necessarily
receiver.
doubting that, but I guess what I'm saying is that they really emphasize that, like, hey, we gave you all that. You know what I mean? Like,
they put the band back together.
I think really the biggest difference is that they signed a high end free agent, like to
like Sammy Watkins.
No, Sammy Watkins was nowhere close to OBJ signing.
Same. I think it's the same.
I mean, you could be right about that in terms of like overall, like what they add to the team per se, but like.
Yeah, I mean, because it's 2023, man.
I'm not
it's
arguing
not...
against you. I'm just saying, like, hey, they're telling Lamar, like, hey, we're giving what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But nonetheless, I'm with you in the sense.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I'm not really afraid of their deep passing game or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise us. We'll see. But I think the real test.
No, I mean they're good. I mean
the
Bengals barely beat them.
They're a very
Lamar,
talented
so.
team. That's why I'm
Yeah.
actually pretty excited about it. I want to see how it goes. But the
I'm
thing
not
that scares
trashing
me the
team.
most
I'm
is
just saying that it's like it's sort of familiar in terms of how they put this team together.
Yeah. But I guess week 9, it's Sunday night. That's another divisional matchup. That should be pretty intense. I feel like that should be a pretty good game all around. I feel like because it feels like
at home.
That is a home game. Yeah. Did we get all of our primetime games at home? Let's see, LA is at home.
No, the Thursday night game you said is on the road at Baltimore, right?
Yeah, the last two, and then the Jags. That's a Monday night game, and then
really,
Jags. I think that's an interesting game because like I always think.
Yeah, I guess people are high on Trevor Lawrence.
Well, no, because Lawrence and Burrow they played against each other in that championship game. That was a really good, like a high scoring Clemson against LSU. That was a really good championship game.
I forget that everyone isn't like I'm not very high on Trevor Lawrence, so I forget that I'm one of the few people that feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I like that Monday night game because like I do think they're kind of overrated. It's always harder to duplicate what you did in the second year. And it feels like we kind of passed that gauntlet last year. Now it's kind of like their turn to do it again because you kind of have a more, especially for them, because I want to say they won their division, so they're going to have more of a target on their back, especially with the teams within their division. So, not necessarily a matchup I'm afraid of. And then Colts, I'm not even. I feel like that's a game that we should have control in over like throughout the whole game. Same thing with the Vikings.
Well, I feel like if you're the Bengals, you're used to playing Lamar Jackson twice a year. It kind of gets you ready to face Anthony Richardson, right?
Yeah.
even though he's a lot bigger. But
yeah, no, he's because of his arm. I just can't remember who the receivers are, but I mean, really, you just need anyone that can run like a 4.3. You just throw it up there.
Alec Pierce, man.
That's right. He did. Yeah, you're right. Good call. He did run a 4.3. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, this is where it gets kind of weird because when you get to the Vikings, it says December 6th and 17th. So that's either Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Some people are considering this. Huh? Yeah, the Vikings.
The Vikings, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder why there's You like that? You like that? It's interesting. Same thing with the last week. It could be either the 6th or the 7th.
Really? So they're going to either give you a Saturday or Sunday game?
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense because you're in that.
Oh, I guess it could depend on the playoffs, too. They could probably...
Well, it's a part of the year where the college football... Well, is college football done around that time?
I don't know.
Usually they don't do Saturday games until college football is like in the bowl season, you know?
But yeah, here we go. Yeah, so the last 8 games, half of them are divisional games, and then of course the big one against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that one, it's like if we go 4-2 and somehow beat the Chiefs. Wait, no. I think we have to go 5-3. That's what I'm thinking. Basically, if we sweep the division here and beat the Chiefs, that's like that to me is like the recipe to try to get the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. Assuming if we start the season off hot. But I guess the only thing about that fantasy is that that's assuming that we sweep the division. So that that's highly unlikely. But I think it's more important that we win these games later in the year than maybe in the early in the year. But definitely if we could start 2-0 though, that would also be pretty good. Because what do we know about 2-0 teams, Eric?
Something about the playoffs.
They're like 100% or something like that, or 85%.
Yeah, it's a lot higher than 0-2.
Yeah. Well, I bet the Bengals changed that last year though. They changed that narrative. But
that's the thing about statistical outliers, right? It's an indication that there's something different about your team if you overcome the odds. And we already know that there's something different about the Bengals.
So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, we have 4 primetime games. Do you feel like we've been slighted? Like, do you think? I kind of like that we got 4. I'm glad we didn't get 5 or like the 6 because it gives them a reason to like.
They're probably going to get more if they're as good as we think they're going to be. Then
I think that
at the end of the year.
Well, I don't know that Steelers game on the 23rd.
They have division games at the end, right?
Possibly the Browns, but I don't know if the Browns are going to be in it. Like. And I don't know, our division's weird. I think this year will be a very good year to kind of tell us like how the next 5 or 6 years are going to be, you know, because like there's still kind of like unknowns. Like we don't really know how Watson's going to perform with the Browns, like with a full off season, and you know, without all that leg, like he's not going to have the rest. I don't think he's still going to be fully there. I think he's still going to take maybe another few more games, but he's definitely going to be better off than what he was. I mean, he's probably going to be a lot closer than he was because I don't think he had any offseason, right? Because like he couldn't technically start. No, he did. He did take a little snaps in spring training, if I can remember.
Yeah, he didn't have much in spring training.
They kept it light because they knew. So
spring training, that's baseball training camp.
But nonetheless, I do expect them to be a little bit better, but we don't know like how much better they're going to be. I mean, because again, on paper, I always feel like they look good, and it seemed like they could be competitive.
Well, they are good. I mean, they almost made the Super Bowl. It was down to the last play.
Talking about the Browns?
Oh, wait, who are we talking about? I thought we were talking about Bengals.
No, I'm talking about the Browns.
Oh, what about the Browns?
I'm just thinking about divisional opponents because I'm saying this year is going to be like a good, I guess, test or indicator of like how the next half decade's going to be. Because it's like,
are we with the Browns? You mean?
No, with the division because
with the division. Okay.
Yeah, because I think right now the Ravens
Right.
pretty much locked in their team the next
Yeah.
5 years. The
Are,
Browns
are
did
we
that.
are we done talking about schedule? Because this is a good segue into the draft stuff.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay.
We
So
can go.
to me, the Browns. I mean, you can't trade away all those picks and be good. You just lack depth. You can't give away all those picks. You know,
Well, no,
it's like if you give a player an outsized amount of money, that means that you need to use the draft to build your team. But they gave away all their premium draft picks to get the player, so their depth is just going to suffer. So they're going to be like,
Well,
I think they're
no,
going to be like a
they
dangerous
formed their
team
team
that
2
lacks
years ago
depth.
when they traded for Watson, and they put in all their chips and they said this is going to be our team the next 4 years.
Yeah, but that's not how. Or the NFL is.
Okay, well, I mean,
You
I
don't.
agree with you, but like I'm just saying,
I'm just saying it's gonna spring their team
instead
is
of
gonna
building your
be
team
like
through the draft, I mean, they kind of did. They kept some of their players, but they brought in a lot of key players from the outside too to form their team, and they're paying for it. And they better hope these players work because they're there. Like the Browns have,
yeah.
I think they're locked in for the
it-
next 3 years. Like
It's
there's
just I mean, it usually doesn't work. I mean, it worked for the Rams for a year and then it fell apart. It just doesn't work.
okay. All right. Well, let's get back into the draft. Let's kind of recap it.
Draft is important. You build your team through the draft.
Right. So let's go back to the draft where we're on that night.
Mhm.
It seems like everything is falling the way we want it, right?
Mhm.
Because it seemed like for sure with the way things were happening, we were gonna pick a tight end.
Mhm.
Mayor, right? It felt right, but then we didn't.
Mhm.
We got Miles Murphy. So
I'm not
after
on the
having
tight
like
end
weeks to think about it,
I'm not doing that for Miles Murphy. I'm doing it for like the idea that the Bengals put a premium on the tight end position and that they were going to get a first round draft pick and get a tight end.
I mean, hindsight looking back, they loved that. Like they didn't even have to create a smokescreen. They just let us, as far as like the fans and like the media outlets, create that narrative that wasn't really there. There was a lot of assuming going on.
So it was just we were just wrong because they
Right.
didn't draft tight end at all.
No.
Right?
And the way they
So
acted,
if you don't even draft a tight end, and I think what do we count? There are like at least a dozen tight ends picked in the draft.
Zach
right?
Taylor confirmed after the draft that they were really interested in two, and it basically was Kincaid and Laporta, the first two that were taken.
Okay.
So
But
yeah,
they weren't that interested in him.
No.
I think Laporta, right?
I mean, if Laporta was there in the second round, I think they would have taken him. But they were also. It seemed like, well, if they didn't get him, so be it.
Yeah, but
they really stuck to their board. Like you could tell.
Yeah. Well, to me, that shows that they didn't really have that big of a premium on the position.
Well,
right?
I
They
think
weren't like,
really
"We need
Mayer
this guy."
and you notice it right away was his speed. He just doesn't have that elite speed, and I think if you're gonna play at a skill position on the Bengals, even at tight end, if they're gonna draft you high, like you gotta have speed, 100%. That is part of the formula now. Like if you look at all their picks, speed that is gonna be the common denominator. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it
Burrow,
makes sense.
offensive
It
minded
makes
coach.
sense after seeing it, but I mean, I mean, I fell for that, man. I was like, yeah, they're gonna get a tight end.
All right, but Miles Murphy, like like it didn't make sense to me at first because like I didn't really know anything about him, but like after looking into him, it makes a lot of sense. It's a very like logical
I
pick.
mean, I'm gonna blame the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator because, I mean, we must have done at least a dozen mock drafts, and he was never available.
Not for us
when we were running the mock, right?
Yeah.
So I was disappointed that they picked him mostly because I had never heard his name associated with the Bengals. And then you look back and it was like, oh, it's just because PFF had him ranked so high that they never had him at 28. I don't know. I mean, they know what they're doing. They know how, I just didn't know much about him. even though I kind of thought Brzee would be a good fit for the Bengals. So
He was probably next in line.
yeah,
He got picked right afterwards too.
mhm.
So, I like it because I didn't really think about it, but one of the things that we were lacking was that additional pass rush, especially if Hendrickson wasn't having his way. And it seems like when they were, and of course, I mean, Osai is good, but just having that fourth and
Yeah,
having those
I
four
mean, it
defensive
made
ends,
sense
like it's going to be a
because
four-headed monster. It's going to
the
be
mocks that we did worked out the best when we picked a defensive lineman in the first round.
I-
Like the way the board fell when we were doing the mocks,
And then another
always seemed to
thing
work better.
we're going to notice with these draft picks is that we just really established depth and possibly future starters. And it's just like
hmm
we're preparing for like the immediate future, but also and then also like the actual future. So like, or a few years down the road, but because this is gonna give us flexibility. Because like, if he is the prospect that they think he is, because it seemed like the way they reacted was that they probably had him as like a top 15 prospect, and to get him like in the second half of the draft was essentially a steal for them. But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
if
it
he ends up
makes
being that
sense.
player,
I mean,
because he's like a Hendrickson mold where he's just got that power and he can push people back and he's going to cause pressure. Like if he's that player, then that's like we got a really good pick in the first round, and it kind of gives us that flexibility to if we do need to cut someone on the defensive end or not resign him. Like
man,
we're not.
you're just cutting people left and right, man.
Well, no, we don't have to. We don't.
bills, y'all.
We have
Making
the
that cap
luxury.
space, man.
If everyone keeps up with what they're doing, right? We don't need
Yeah.
it, and then we're at a
Right.
plus, but we have the depth. But then if they also do that, then they're less likely to be resigned, but we don't have to worry about it because we have the replacement. But it works both ways. If they don't perform, we're okay, and if they do perform, we're okay. So either way, it's like if you have that next person in line, it's kind of like that. You don't I've already messed it up. It's like you don't something you reload. You don't like.
Rebuild?
You don't rebuild, you reload, and it's like you have people like you don't have to find people, you already have people online ready to go.
Yeah, it's like the exact opposite of what I was saying about the Browns, right?
Yeah,
You build your team through the draft. You build depth through the draft. Because to win, to me, like it's a simple thing. In order to win like a Super Bowl in the NFL, you need to have players that outperform their contract. And the easiest way to have players that outperform their contract are to get people on rookie deals, because if they're good, they're underpaid as a rookie on a rookie contract, right? So it's a salary cap league. You need to get the best bang for your salary cap, and the draft is the way to do it.
Yeah, no, yep. Especially when you have that quarterback. So like, when you're so invested in a premium quarterback, you have to build your roster through the draft.
Yeah,
That's the
but I
only
mean
way.
that's why the Bengals are so good. All their best players are still on rookie deals, or not all their best players, but a lot of their best players are on rookie deals. So they're like way outperforming their salary cap number.
Okay, so all right, so let's continue with the draft. So like second round, into the second round, we get to the 60th pick. Darnell Washington's available. The tackle from Ohio State's available, I think. And like I felt like again, it was another one where we thought maybe we would go for tight end, and then we picked DJ Turner, which kind of feels very similar to the first round. Where I mean, it makes sense that they went for corner, and I always felt like going for corner in the second round was the best move, because we don't know if we can extend or essentially sign another contract with Awuzie, because I mean, he's gonna get paid a lot more than what we're paying him now, at least double. I feel like, because he played really well for us. I think he's on a really good contract. Like I think we're paying like $7 or $8 million a year.
Yeah, 7 sounds right.
Yeah, so I feel like he's at least gonna get 12 at least. But I feel like for like a good corner, you know, like he could potentially get 15 a year, right? So like,
I don't remember.
Yeah, but but nonetheless, like you get another corner to add depth, and then not only that, I think they said he ran a 4.2
Yeah,
plus.
I think he is the fastest corner.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. And then not only that, he played with the safety that we drafted last year, Dax Hill. So
Hmm.
I think that's an interesting like dynamic. So like it's like they're gonna already have that communication when they're on the field together. So that's gonna be kind of cool.
Hmm.
But
Bengals like teammates, huh?
and speed. Well, I guess there's a multitude of things, but typically it seems like speed. Um,
Yeah, I mean they got a lot of teammates, right?
it seems like they do. They really do.
Right, 2 Clemson guys, 2 LSU guys, 2 Michigan guys.
No, I'm excited because like I feel like he is gonna have a lot of upside. This is like a perfect. I feel like corners can have the potential to start right away, but if you have the luxury to give them a year to kind of like groom them and get them ready, like it
Mm,
just makes it that much easier. So, um, he could be a potential starter, which is awesome. And having someone that's 4.2, and then our other corner, Cam Taylor Britt, I think he's like a 4.3,
mhm,
and then our other two safeties are like 4.3s. So like we
mhm,
probably have one of the faster DB groups in the NFL, I want to say. So it's like
mhm.
I wonder if it's just like because we have such a dynamic offense, it's one of those things where like we don't want to get beat against something that we're really good at type of deal in terms of like the Bengals. Um
Yeah, I don't know. I think it has to do with Lou's system. I think he likes the type. I mean, you see there's a type, right?
yeah. Yeah. All right. So and I feel like the third round was very similar to it seemed like the first 5 rounds where we're like, okay, this is gonna be the round we're gonna get a tight end, right? But this was gonna be the round we're gonna get the tight end because
Mhm.
um Washington was available still, which something weird was going on. Maybe something with an injury or something, but it seemed like he dropped a lot. But then we traded down,
Mhm.
right? And then I want to
Yeah.
say before we made our pick, Washington got picked, and then we ended up picking Jordan Battle, which was the safety. And this was the one when I was kind of confused with the first round pick because he just wasn't on my radar at Murphy. But after seeing all the highlights and seeing like what he was projected to be, then I was like, okay, no, that made a lot of sense. This one kind of
Mhm.
confused me because I thought we were set at safety, but then when people started comparing him to um oh my gosh, the safety that signed with Carolina, why can't I not think of his name? Von Bell. I was
No,
like,
mine's Clarence.
but no, when they started comparing him to Von Bell, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like if you're saying like if that's his comp, then I'm like, okay, I like this pick a lot. But and then well,
He's
well,
like a young, cheap Von Bell.
well, yeah. I mean, but then, but the thing is that he may not be like he's a good hitter. He may not be like the dynamic hitter that Bell is, but I
Yeah,
think
I mean
coverage
Von Bell is
wise,
like
he might
a
actually be an
first round.
upgrade.
I think Von Bell was a first round pick. I don't know if it's fair to say like, oh, the guy in the third round is going to be like a Von Bell who's like been in the NFL long enough to sign like this has to be like his third or fourth contract he signed, right?
Yeah. Well, but again, it's another pick that we don't really have to
Hmm.
worry about performance right away. And then the safety that we got, he's only making $4 million a year, which I thought was
No,
interesting.
mine's Clarence.
Because when we brought in Bill, he was basically signed for 7. He basically is getting paid the same amount that we paid him. I thought, right? Or did we give him $6 million a year? But anyways, the safety that we brought in was paid a little bit less than when we initially brought in Bell, which I always thought was interesting because I thought we would at least pay the same amount, which is not too far off. But then thinking about it, maybe safety was always on their radar, and maybe they thought there was good potential that they could be drafting their future starter in the draft. Because supposedly, they were really impressed with Battle
Hmm.
during the combine because they had an interview with him, and they like he just blew it out of the water. It was kind of like how Marvin Lewis was so impressed with Whitworth. I feel like Whitworth had the same thing where they just did really well in the interview that But it was one of those picks where they didn't expect him to be that far, like, I guess, into the draft, that they were like, okay, we got to pick him. And I think he can be a future starter, but kind of like what I thought they would do with Dax Hill last year and have the 3 safeties. Now they can have that look as well, where if they do need to have a third safety, he's that guy. So it does make sense. And then plus he's going to play a lot of special teams. So
yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a good pick.
Because if you lose your 2 starters at safety, you want there to be competition and depth.
Well, that and that yeah, that's kind of lost what I was gonna say, but is there anything you want to add to this pick? Because I do like the 4th round pick, because it was interesting, because I don't think anyone anticipated that we would go heavy defense in the first 3 rounds. I mean, but looking back, it kind of makes sense.
Well, I mean, we kind of said that they had to get cheap on defense, so
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, hindsight is a very sensible draft, but then in the 4th round, we finally got the first offensive piece. But I don't know if Charlie Jones was on anyone's radar, but I do feel like he, I don't know, like he was the receiver that I was kind of looking for, where he can add something to the return game, because I do kind of see him returning punts. I see him as more of an upgrade to. Was it Trent Taylor?
Yeah.
Because I was getting Trent
Taylor or Trent Irwin.
No, I think it's Trenton Irwin and then Trent Taylor.
Irwin.
But
there are 2 Trents.
Well, no, there's Trent and Trenton.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But anyways, I think he's just like a quicker version, a little bit faster version of Trent Taylor. Pretty sure that's his name. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like he's gonna be one of those people that's gonna be sneaky good, and kind of like what I was talking about before. He's gonna be that person where we're gonna be able to add into our packages and be disguised, and he's gonna cause a lot of mismatches, because if there's a way you can get a safety or somehow a linebacker on him, at 4.4, I mean, I don't know. He just seems like a really smart, very clean route runner, and it's just like,
yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things from the game against the Chiefs that kind of got lost in all the cheating at the end of that game, was that like Tyler Boyd got hurt, and he was kind of set up to be the guy to get all the mismatches in that game. And I think that they tried to. I mean, I think Irwin was open. I think they hit him with a pass. I think did he have a drop or something?
Well,
in any event, it's like you need to have that.
You need
depth
3
at that receiver.
With our offense. You need 3.
They had 3 receivers, but then after the 3rd receiver, there was a significant drop off. So you see that they're addressing that issue. They're upgrading those spots so that if Boyd can't play, then they got a guy who can be as dynamic.
Yeah, no, he is that guy. Like, if Boyd gets hurt, he can come in, and it feels like he's not going to have that experience, but it feels like you're not losing much, because he might actually be a little bit faster than Boyd. I think all the
I won't go as far as to say you're not losing much going from Boyd to him, but I will say that it's definitely better than the position they were in last year. So it certainly makes the team better, and you could get them in 4 receiver sets and stuff.
Yeah, it's probably makes sense. It's hard to explain, I guess, because I'm seeing it as strictly as a 3rd option. But yeah, it's probably not the best way to put it. But like, I'm just saying, like, if you lose your 3rd guy and you're trying to create that mismatch, he can be that guy to still create that mismatch. It's not going to be the same as Boyd, but it's going back to that theme of this draft, is that we're adding depth and in a future. To me, like, all of our top 3 receivers are starters. I know, like, technically you count 2 receivers as starters, but if you're a top receiver, 3 receiver in our offense, you're technically a starter. And I think he's, again, another one of those people that could be in that top 3 or future starter.
I agree 100%.
Another solid pick. It was like, all these picks again, maybe because we're conditioned with the PFF or the simulators that we're using, but no, because I feel like we used like 3 different ones throughout the whole process, but none of them had us picking Charlie Jones, which was interesting.
Yeah, I just think that all those tools get really noisy. It's really difficult for them to predict once you get past like the top 100 players. Like how much better is like the top, the one that PFF has ranked, the player of PFF has ranked 100 compared to like the 150th player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all going to be it's at that point it's all
I think it's generally going to be close, and there's going to be some things that you're like nuances. Like for instance, when the Lions drafted that linebacker in the first round, it seemed like that was kind of a shock that Jack Campbell, I think his name.
Okay.
Like he was picked like mid first round. Like it seemed like really high.
Yeah, and I think he was ranked like 40 or something.
Yeah, but that was consensus. Like a lot of people didn't have him that high, but there's always going to be those like that character thing where they're going to connect with the coach, or you know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah. I mean, I think if you pick a guy who's like a second rounder, mid second rounder in the first round, in like the top 15, that's not the same as picking like. It's nowhere near the same thing as picking a guy in the fourth round that some people had as a fifth rounder. At that point, it's like there's not that big of a gap in talent between a fourth rounder and a fifth rounder. It's more like what traits, what position, what role do you want the player to play? So, I mean, it makes sense. Like you see his highlights, you see what position he plays, and you can see him fitting into the offense and playing some in 4 receiver sets right away and offering depth at some of the other positions. It like makes it makes total sense.
So going into the 5th round, we knew at some point we were going to draft a running back. Again, kind of like Charlie Jones, Chase Brown to me. Didn't expect it. I think we had various other running backs that we thought potentially could go around this time. I want to say Tajay Spears maybe went slightly.
I think he went way earlier.
Did he? I want to say he went around like maybe in the 4th round, like just before we can get him. Like essentially.
Yeah, I know he got picked. I think he got picked before we picked, but
yeah. But I mean, this is I like this pick because this is where we wanted to pick a running back like late in the draft, and I like Chase Brown because he runs a 4.4. Like he's one of the faster, I guess, running backs in the draft. He's going to add depth, and then he does have that home run capability at 4.4. I mean, he can catch passes out of the backfield, so he might catch a few people off guard.
Yeah, the Titans picked Tajay Spears in the 3rd round.
Oh, 3rd round. Okay, yeah, never mind. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he was consistently going around what around the 6th round in the mocks. I guess he was kind of like all over the place. But I mean, that's the way it can be. But I guess a side note with Chase Brown, I remember seeing his. I'm not sure if you got to see it, but like they recorded his reaction when he got called. One of those things where like it's kind of one of those emotional things. It's cool because you can just see how much it meant to him, to their family. But then he actually has a twin brother that plays safety. It's kind of like the Barbers, where like one of them was a DB and the other one was a running back. So I thought that was interesting. But no, I like this again. Another depth piece. I don't know if he'll ever be.
had him ranked as number 106.
Chase Brown.
Big board. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got him at 163. That's like that's another thing about this draft is that I felt like we didn't reach. I felt like we truly picked BPA, and I don't know. It felt like a very sensible draft. I think people just got to get used to where we're at right now because we've done so well in a few off seasons and several drafts in a row. Where like
he led the nation in fumbles.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
That's probably why he got picked so low.
Yeah, but hey, it might work out really well for us. So. Oh, okay, and then. This, I think, was kind of a surprise, but I think the reason why we went with, I think, Andre Losivas, the receiver from Princeton.
Oh, yeah.
The 6th round pick, I think. Yeah, because we had two
Yeah.
6th-rounder picks. Yeah, so he was the first of the 6th-round pick.
Yeah. How do you spell his name?
Andrei. I think it's Andre or Andre.
Yeah.
Andre.
I found it. Yeah. So he's a 4.43 guy.
Yeah,
But
no,
he's
no.
6'3", 205.
Yeah, he like when I was watching his film, like he seems just like a Marvin Jones 2.0, and I think.
Oh, he's skinny.
Well, no, he's just fast and smooth, and he makes those freakish like catches. Like he's another vertical threat, and I think he's our potential like third option down the road. Like he has that capability where.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gonna be a little bit more of a project.
It makes total sense for a 6th-round pick. You just pick.
Well, I think
athlete
with
that
this
you
pick,
like.
I think potentially we were looking to get maybe possibly a backup quarterback too, if the right one fell. But I want to say Stetson Bennett was picked like a round before him.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like this was around we potentially could have got a quarterback, because it wasn't until after the draft we signed a backup quarterback. Because like after the draft, it technically is a new season, and it like doesn't count towards the salary cap. So, that's why like a lot of those veteran players get signed after the draft. So it seems like this was around that we were potentially waiting on a quarterback. It felt like, but I don't mind this pick at all. Like I feel like a guy that runs 4.4 and you're 6'3", almost 6'4", like if T Higgins hurts. You put this guy in, like, I mean, obviously, he's not going to be T. Higgins, but, like, you don't really, it's just adding that depth. We're not really struggling to put someone in there, so I like it. I think he's going to be one of those situations where it's going to be a little bit of a project, and he's just going to be like that 7th receiver.
Pick.
Yeah, well, but he's going to be that 7th receiver where it's probably most likely going to be inactive unless someone gets hurt, I feel like. Oh, yeah. Because you're going to have this other guy in here, Charlie Jones, because he can actually play the slot right away, and then I think he might be the returner at some point, hopefully sooner than later, punt returner. And I think we keep Trenton Taylor for one more year because we signed him, but because like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket with a rookie, right? So I think you just keep that veteran presence. Like maybe he starts out the year as the returner, and then hopefully Charlie Jones can beat him out towards the end of the year. Gain that trust. But yeah, unless like I said, someone else gets hurt, you can put him in, and then you still don't lose that speed. And then honestly, like this might actually be my favorite pick overall, like just in general. But Brad Robbins, so like he's the pick that we got when we traded down to get our safety. And he like some of the videos I watched, they actually projected him as the best punter in the draft. And
yeah, see, I'm not gonna criticize the pick too much, but I would like to see the Bengals just go sign that guy, that Araiza guy, Matt Araiza.
Why?
Because he was awesome in the NFL.
Did he play any games? I thought he got like.
I think he played like a season and then he got cut.
No, I think he may have played a preseason game, but he got cut early in the year. He got drafted and he got cut.
Okay, I thought he played a year.
No. He got cut the year they got drafted. He may have played 1 or 2 games, but it was either in the preseason or early in the year. But okay, so here's the deal about Brad Robbins. It's his hang time. He can he like. From what I understand, like if he wants, he can kick it really far. But the thing is when you bomb it, it just doesn't have that hang time. But with this guy, he's actually pretty good with directional punts, which we lacked last year. And then also, he doesn't kick those line drives. He forces returners to fair catch, like because he kicks it so high. So like, I actually think this is going to be a bigger deal than what it is, because like part of the reason why we lost the AFC Championship was that we kicked a line drive. And we didn't kick it towards the sideline. We kicked it down the middle, and it was a line drive punt in the AFC Championship game. And I mean, barring injury, I think that might be his only concern, is that he had a significant injury. But I mean, the fact that we drafted him pretty much tells me they're not really worried about it. But I know they're calling it a competition right now, but I don't know. If you draft a punter, like, I feel like that pretty much means he's going to make the team. But outside of that, I do think he's good enough.
I don't think they like the current punter.
Yeah. No, but no, this guy is good. He's legit. And when I found out like his specialty is like the directional high punts, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like he shouldn't give. You should see a lot of fair catches. Basically, like he's not going to give many returners an opportunity to return. And that to me is like exactly what you want, because what we're good at is playing I forget what the technical term is, but like but we're just playing like the field. We're minimizing the returns, because if we can get them to punt, we just trust our offensive enough to at least get 3 points, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to control the line of scrimmage or
field position.
Field position. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. All right, but no, I once I like learned about it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a solid pick. I think part of the reason why he slid, based off of the what I saw, was that maybe he played it too safe in his last season, but also someone made a good point that like there were certain games that when he was punting in, the returner would get frustrated. And they probably took returns that they shouldn't have, because like they just wanted to do something. And it was one of those things where it kind of hurt some of his stats. But
yeah, he's a Michigan guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Teammates.
There you go. And then the 7th round, we picked another corner, and then DJ Ivy. From my understanding, like he had like a really good like athletic score. From Miami of Florida. I think he's the one where maybe he may not necessarily make the team. Maybe he will. I don't know, but for sure the first, I guess technically 7 picks, because we had 8 in totals. I feel like we're pretty much locks to make the pick or team. But I feel like some of the veterans that we signed in the offseason, I don't know. It just based off the numbers, I don't know if he makes the team or not. I mean, he could, especially if he contributes a lot in special teams. I think that would be the
he's determining factor. He can tackle.
Yeah, I mean, from like a prospect perspective, like he.
Yeah, again, I think that it's more likely that guy sticks than some of the receivers that were on the team last year.
Yeah, no, I think pretty much our receivers are set. Like I don't think Stanley Morgan, I don't think he makes the team. I mean, I think he's a good special teams player, and then obviously he's a really good blocker. But I think they would rather have that out of their tight ends than their receiver options, I guess. I don't know. Do you have like any concerns with like our tight end options, or maybe even our depth?
No, I'm not a tight end. I'm not worried about tight end. I thought, like, leading into the draft, I was thinking, like the tight end gets open on gimmick plays because everybody's chasing the receivers and they're just going to be wide open. I don't know how many wide open passes tight ends have got with Zach Taylor's offense. So I think that they can scheme those guys open. So it's not a critical position. I mean, I would have liked to have seen them pick a guy like Mayer, someone who could do both block well and catch.
I really wouldn't,
because I don't think speed. Yeah. But I don't think speed is like as critical at the tight end position, because I just think they are uncovered so much. And I think it would be even more, it would be even easier to scheme them open if they were a good blocker, because it wouldn't really tip what's going on with the play so much, right? Whereas, like, now I think that the Bengals have Sample and Asiasi, who like if they're in, it's like okay, they're blocking. And then if Irv Smith's in, he's probably going out for a route. Even though I guess they say Irv Smith, even though he's not a big guy, is actually a kind of a competent blocker. But I mean, I don't think that you would say that. Who's the tight end we had last year?
No, mine's Clavin.
Wilcox.
No, not Wilcox. The guy left.
No, mine's Clavin.
I can see
You're
his
so
red
bad
hair.
at names, man. I need to add another sound for when we don't know somebody's name.
I keep want to say Trenton Irwin, but I know the Ravens.
In any event, I think that he would be classified as a competent and willing blocker who is like a catch first kind of guy. So it just seems like a like for like plug and play exchange,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not, you're going to get the volume that you had before. So you don't really have to make any dramatic changes. So, I mean, I'm not concerned. Although I was all on board for picking a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like such an obvious, I guess, direction because we didn't really have a long-term solution at tight end, and this was the deepest class of tight end in a while. So, like, it just seemed like it made a lot of sense. But it also makes sense that, like, tight end is like one of those positions where you can get those like cheap deals, especially with veterans that are trying to get that prove it deal, So like,
well, I mean, Joe Burrow's gotten 2 tight ends paid,
Yeah, and yeah, I think people just.
So I mean, if he gets a 3rd one paid after this season, they'll be able to find another guy to come in and take a team-friendly deal for 1 year.
Yeah, and actually,
pretty confident they'll go get paid.
Looking back on it, like because he signed his deal so quickly from the Bengals, still can't think of his name. Former tight end.
He's still a current tight end.
Huh?
Nothing. He's still a tight end, right?
Well, not for the Bengals.
No.
But no, he actually got one of the better tight end deals because it was a multi-year, 7-year deal. It was like $21 million. Like,
mm-hmm.
I think it was. I want to say that was like top 3 for tight ends if you look at contracts. So like,
yeah.
Plus, it seemed like a lot of the Bengals free agents, they signed within, or I guess the top ones, they signed within the first couple of days. So you knew they were sought after.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bell, Bates, they were all gone within the first couple of days. And and even the guy, our linebacker that we kept.
No, mine's Clavin.
We
the name Pratt.
Pratt, yeah, we resigned him within a couple of days. Like that was a shocker to me that we were able to keep him, but it just goes it just shows you how much linebackers are undervalued. But that to me is a steal, and like one of those things where like that's going to be overlooked a lot that we're able to keep Pratt. Like as much as I thought we could have kept Bell, like to me Pratt would have been a bigger deal to keep rather than Bell, because I feel like what Pratt brings to the team versus what Bell does is just it'd be a lot harder to replace Pratt.
What you said, that was your hot take, was that Von Bell was the most important free agent.
What do you mean?
Last year. Yeah, before free agency.
Because I thought realistically, I thought Pratt technically was the most important. I just thought more realistically we're gonna keep Bell. I just thought maybe Pratt would get like $12 million a year, and we just didn't want to. Because I thought but it was actually the opposite. It was like, well, they signed about the same, but it was like if you're gonna, would you rather keep Bell or Pratt for $7 million? I'm like, I'm gonna take. I would have done the same thing. I would have kept.
I don't know.
Pratt.
I like Von Bell, so it's hard.
So for $7 million, you would have keep Bell over Pratt. They basically got the same contract.
Yeah, I think I would pick Bell over Pratt. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I would have picked Pratt
because of continuity. I figure you keep one starter at linebacker and one starter at safety, and then you add each, as opposed to 2 new starters at safety and keep the linebackers the same.
No, Bell was awesome, but then I just think about all the things that Pratt has done, especially during the playoffs. And it's just, I'm glad we got
Pratt
him.
had an amazing year last year. He won a couple games. He made some plays to win some games last year.
He was the one that secured our first playoff win in
but
3 decades.
I feel like Von Bell is also like a tremendous leader. And
He is. No, he is. But it's just,
and
yeah.
I feel like
honestly, you can't go wrong with either one. You really can't.
Like, I mean, when they played the Steelers a few years ago on Muppet Night Football, and our boy strafed the Steelers, and Von Bell took out, what's his face?
Schuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome, definitely top 5.
That was an awesome night.
Yeah.
That was an awesome night, and for that reason, like Von Bell's my sentimental favorite, just because I feel like he really, I feel like when he did that, that was like the moment when things rebounded for the Bengals franchise, and they were like clearly on the upswing.
Yeah. That was definitely a big moment for Zach Taylor too. So like it was big. It was
changed the way I felt. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was crazy how passionate the Bengals played that game. It was like you would think the Bengals were the playoff team.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I would pick them. Not just your fan perspective, right? Although I would rather have both. But understanding that you're going to have to get younger and cheaper on defense in order to pay the receivers and the quarterback. So,
no, I think overall it was just a very sensible draft, and I think they just.
All right, what's your grade? Grade it up.
Like, I don't know. I feel like the more we do it, it's just silly to do grades because it's like you don't really know.
Yeah,
like silly. You can't. But I mean, if I had to put a grade on it, like I feel like it's definitely like I feel like it's a solid A. Like it really is, because it's like the only knock you could say would be, well, I guess probably a couple things. Maybe people are concerned about the right tackle, but I don't think it's really a concern now that Jonah is on board. It seems like he knows. Like, I mean, I think most people kind of understood that. Like, can't pass up on the 12 million. Like, he had to play, right? Like, there was no other option. But the fact that, like, now that he verbally committed, and
yeah, but I mean, I almost think that if he goes out there and is healthy all year and plays good at right tackle, it almost makes him more money.
Well, yeah, and then it gives him a better option to go in a left tackle too. He can always go back to left tackle.
He can always go back to left tackle. Because, I mean, the Chiefs, they spent a lot of money on a guy who was a right tackle who never played left tackle before. So I feel like if you show that you can play both positions, that you increase your value. Because teams can see you. Teams looking for a right tackle can sign you, and teams looking for a left tackle can sign you. So really, it's just about him showing that he's healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like if he stays healthy, then he's gonna be a very solid right tackle. Like
But if he's healthy and he plays well, maybe the Bengals re-sign him.
It's a possibility, but I feel like he's also one of those where they would be okay if he signs a big deal somewhere else. So especially at left tackle, then they get like a better compensatory pick.
Yeah, but you can't. It's hard to get a good tackle in the 3rd round, especially if the Bengals are picking them.
But what do you mean, like
the compensatory, the compensation that you get for the high compensatory?
So you would rather pay Jonah another $15 million a year plus to get
if he plays good? Yes.
Yeah, but the 3rd round pick doesn't have to be that tackle that year. It could be that defensive end or that corner, and then you can afford to pick maybe a little bit.
If I would pay for the offensive lineman.
I don't know, because we still have Collins next year if he comes back healthy and he can prove it.
Yeah.
So we're not really desperate.
If Collins plays, I'm just saying, I would spend the money on right tackle. I would get the best option I could afford at right tackle. Like I would spend 15 million on the best right tackle available, whether that be Jonah Williams or anybody else.
No, I mean I can't hate on that because I just feel like more time we give to Burrow, that it could never hurt us. Like,
right. I mean, it's just
especially the way we're building our offense with all these fast, dynamic players. That like the more time you give us to for him to throw, someone's gonna be open 100%, and he's gonna find the person.
Yeah, you just got to figure it out on defense with draft picks, whether or not you get the compensatory pick or not. You're just gonna have to make up for that third round pick, whether you trade down or not. Right? Maybe just trade down. You can always flip your first rounder and pick up an extra third rounder if you drop out of the first round. I just think that like the Bengals are kind of, and you saw that with this draft, right? The Bengals aren't looking for their stars. They have all their stars. They're looking for role players in depth, right?
Yeah. Potential future starters too, but those are.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean by role players too, though. Like it's sort of like they've got the star power, they've got the elite players in place that you need to win Super Bowls, right? So they need like to build the rest of the team, right? And you can do that with that sweet spot of like day 2 picks. If you get a high volume of second and third round picks, you can build a nice roster. It's just like you need like the top of the first round picks usually to get like the people that are going to get you over the top and into the Super Bowl against good teams, right?
Yeah, no, I think. No, I'm excited about this year. I feel like, I think overall we got better, especially with the depth. But I think overall too, because like, yeah, maybe we potentially regress a little bit from the back end of our defense, from like our safety perspective. But I think the way we upgraded our offensive line trumps that. Trumps like maybe how the deficiencies that we got, because really it just comes with the inexperience. Like that's the only thing that we lost. It's not playmaking ability necessarily, because I even with the little bit that we saw with Dax Hill last year, it just seemed like he was always around the ball. So like I feel like from like the turnover perspective and like interceptions, like I feel like that might go up. I think if anything, the main difference between him and Bates is that maybe Bates is more of a bigger hitter, but I don't know. I just see long term where
what? Bates is a big hitter,
bigger hitter than Dax Hill. Yeah.
Okay.
He's more of a reinforcer, but I see Dax Hill more of a like playmaker when it comes to like getting the ball, like pass deflections or just interceptions in general.
Mm-hmm.
I'd see more interceptions from our DB group last year, especially with our speed. So, and if we're giving more pressure to the quarterback, that should help it as well. But I don't know. I'm excited. I feel like this could be a really big year for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add? I think this would be a good time to end it here.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
All right. Cool. All right. All right. Peace.